Hi everyone, welcome to yet another video on our result management system that we created in Excel, and we also performed the same tasks using SQL, MySQL to be precise. And so this time around, we'll be creating a web application to do this same result management system. So part of the things we are going to be using is Python, the virtual environment, and VS Code. Specifically for the Python, we will be using a Python web framework called Django. And so it's really important you have some knowledge of Python and some knowledge of Django web framework. And as I earlier mentioned, this series is meant for people who have some experience with these frameworks and these tools, but are looking for like a real life project. And so it's really important that in order for you guys to follow along, you have fair knowledge of these tools. And so without further ado, we are going to shoot up our VS Code. So the first thing I'm going to do is to open a folder. Most likely navigate to somewhere that I want this folder to be, and create a folder. I've already created a folder here before, and I'm going to name it School Management System or Result Management System. So at the end of the day, maybe I'm going to build a complete school management system. If time permits, select folder, and so it's just coming up. Cool. And so I'm going to just standard VS Code prompt. I'm going to shoot up my terminal, and I'm going to first install, I will initiate Git and install my virtual environment. Today I'm actually going to be using Poetry virtual environment. You can use virtual env. There are a lot of virtual environments out there that you guys can use, but I'll be using Poetry. And so for me to in order for me to continue, this has navigated to where my my file is. So I will say git init, that's initialized git, and I'll say poetry init. So like I said, Poetry is the virtual environment I'm actually using, and you can use the virtual env if you so want. So package name SMS, version, no, I'm just going to leave it like that. Description: this is a tutorial series. I can say this is a result management tutorial series building an application. So some description. Virtual environment will not give you this. It's not really important. This is how Poetry works. License, compatible with Python 3.11 or greater. Yes. I don't need any dependencies, and yes. So again, this is how Poetry works. You don't necessarily need to use this. You could use virtual env. And so for me to activate my virtual environment, I am going to say poetry shell. And yeah, so it's trying to create the virtual environment, and then we'll now start installing our dependencies. Now the virtual environment is to help you, is to help containerize whatever it is you are doing, whether building an application or writing some project that has dependencies that you need to install. So it's just to make sure that whatever installation you are doing, you do not install it on your global environment or on your PC itself. So your PC is considered your global environment. So it has activated, as you guys can see here, with the bracket, with the brackets here. So SMS, Python 2.1. And so I'm just going to start installing Django. So it's poetry add. So the libraries I'll be installing is import export, Django underscore import underscore export. And that's because I want to upload files using CSV. The next thing I'm going to install is Django and maybe Python decouple. The Python decouple is to enable me hide some of my keys, like secret keys I don't want people to see, or authentications to my backend, my database, things I don't want people to see. So it's going to take some time. Oh, before you do this, you would actually need that if you want to install your dependencies, yeah, you actually need internet. So it's installing some of the dependencies for Django and Python decouple, as well as the import export. So these are libraries. This one is just for importing CSV files. Because I want to actually upload data to my database and I'm too lazy to type them. And so when I'm done, of course, Django-admin, I'm going to create project. And usually it's best you name your project after this folder, the folder you created, which is a SMS folder. And I'm just going to give space, then dot. Now what this helps me to do is, if I just run this command, it's going to create a folder, SMS folder, but we actually want this manage.py to be in the main folder itself. And so instead of me to have to be clicking and drag, I'll just put, while trying to start a project, I'll just put a space and dot. So it will just bring the manage.py file to the main folder as I wanted. The reason why you need your manage.py file folder is because you are going to be using it to run the rest of your commands, and you actually need the manage.py file to do that. So I can see, so now I want to start creating. I've created my project, and my project, it has the URLs and settings, where my setting is. I don't know if I explained this earlier. Oh, I don't think I did. The way Django works is, if you make any request, like you say, okay, www.google.com, for instance, Django works in such a way that whatever request you make to a Django-based web application or website, it goes through these settings. It has to go through this, sorry, many apologies. It has to go through the Django project. because the Django project is the one through which every other thing is built upon. So you always have to have a Django project. And so let's say you make a request or you want to visit the site in your browser. It handles the request by going to the Django project URLs file. This is like a routing thing. And it reroutes to the Django URLs. That is whenever you make a request, and then it then goes to the Django application URLs file. So the URLs file is where you do your routing, create your path. So if, for instance, I go to let me see, let's say linkedin.com, or I don't know, let me just go to linkedin.com, or I could just type so I'm going to go to my browser and just type something. Let's see, what should I type? Okay, let's see, small PDF. So when I do that, it has created a path where a path to google.com slash, so anything slash, all of these are path. So when I click on, let's say, this website now, it now redirects me to the small PDF website. And so you can see slash PDF to PPT. But if I go somewhere else, it will show slash something else, and slash something else. So these are what you call your path, like where this particular where you want to go to. And so the same thing with the URLs. The URLs guides you so that you don't click something and you go to something else. So the URL in such a way that it guides you, and each application you see in the Django project might mean something. So an application can just be just the merge link that you go to, and all of these displays. And so for you to be able to create even the landing page for a website, you need to have an application for it. So something like this, you also need to have an application for it. And so a Django application need to happen for something like this to show. And so then you use your models to actually build your database, and you use your views to write your logic. Off the top of my head, I just wanted to introduce that in the event you guys are still new to Django. And so if I go to my project, you can see my settings.py. This is where so my installed app, any application I create, I have to install it by just calling the name of the application here. I have to, in this directory here for templates, so HTML template, I'll create a folder, HTML template, where my template system would sit. All my template, my HTML files would sit. And then there are some other settings we don't need to worry about now. So in order for me to create the application, now you could just decide to right click and add new folder and just say application, but the framework is in such a way that once you run the start project command or start application command to create an app, it will just create everything for you without you having to code. And so I'm going to actually run the command for create the application. So I would say pi. So I would not need to do the Django dash admin again. I can just say pi. Then call this manage.py that we have here, and we'll say start app. And let's say I'm going to create a home application for my landing page, for instance. And maybe I would create an application for students, the courses that has the course code as well as maybe the results. So like what we have here. So we are actually mimicking all of this. The idea is just mimicking it and displaying it in a web interface and also interacting with it. And so we have our courses, student profile, as well as our different tables. And so I will create another application. Let me just call it student. Now you can create one application to do all of this stuff, but I'm just I rather create different apps for it. That's just a preference. And so student, I can say result or just result. And maybe the last one I would create courses, or maybe in my result I'll just create my courses. Now on opening each of the application for the student, you find out that there's everything, models, your views, but no urls.py. So it's your, for some weird reason, you have to create the url.py file. And in order for me to connect my project urls.py to my application, I have to tell my Django that, oh, I have to tell my Django that, oh, I have created a Django application URLs, add it to my project. And for the settings, we'll just add the application name to our settings. And so I'll go back to my Django project, go to settings. So I've created 3 applications, result, home, and student. I'm going to add it in my installed app here, result, home, student, and just save, always save. The next thing I would want to do is to go to the project URLs, project urls.py, and on my line 18 here from django.urls import path, and I'm going to add another library called include. What that means is I can create different parts here, and I would say include, then I'll include the application's URL file. So it will be, let's say, home.urls, comma, then I would say student.urls, and the last one result.urls. So for the home, you see this part here, anything I write here is going to show, like, it's the one that will be showing something like this slash compressed file. So if I write compressed file, that's what's going to happen. If I just leave it as a landing page, now I said I want to use my home application just for my landing page. So what it means is I'm going to leave this part blank. And for my student, I can just say student slash. So if you go to my DNS or my website /student, then give me everything that is in /student. So the same thing with the results. Only one can take empty, if any. only one can take empty. And if you so want, you can um, add something here slash home, but it's just standard practice that any website you actually visit, there is no slash a path as well. So a landing page. So it's really important that you actually create a landing page for it. And the next thing now is I'm going to now see, now that I've tell Django that, oh, I have a application.urls uh, file that redirects to that particular urls.py. So now I have to start going to my application and um, start creating the urls.py file. And one of the libraries I will import is also path. So from django.urls import path, just like the way we did that we in our uh, project.urls. So I'm just going to do the same thing without the include. And yep. And I would say URL patterns, which is where I'll be creating my path, and save. Now I'm too lazy, I'll just copy this file. And because even the result doesn't have the urls.py, like I said, you have to create the application, just paste. It's all the same setting for the home to just paste. And when you're done with that, you can then run your server to deploy what you've already built. So I can say python manage.py and I'll say run server. So everything I've built so far, I just want to see it and how it looks like. So usually when you do this run server, it automatically creates okay, so it hasn't. I thought it's okay, it hasn't. Okay, it automatically creates your database, and it uses this database, it uses SQLite, and you can migrate it to MySQL, Postgres, Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle. So by the time I go to my local host, which is the default, it's like my default website name or DNS, domain name server. Oh, sorry. I think I was running something else. So let me refresh. Okay, so it's telling me that page not found, and and that's because I've already created my path, and so when it went to localhost hyphen 8000, which is like my landing page, I've not actually created a path to my landing page, which is my URL, my home.urls, and neither have I written any logic for it to do anything. Now, like I earlier mentioned that in your logic is in your views, and your database, building up your database, creating tables is your models. Your URL will interact with your views, and your views will interact with your models, and your models interact with your database. And so in order for me to do anything, I'll just go to my views. Again, this is just to create like a display. So I'm going to import http from django.http, import http response, and I will then create a function called home and requests. It takes argument requests, and what I can now do, I'll say return HTTP response. So return a response when I go to localhost hyphen 8000. So I could say h1. I could say h1 again. You also need to know how to use HTML and CSS. That is really important. And I can say in between, I'll say this is my landing page if I so want. Now that I've created my logic, this is what I want to display. I will then go to my URLs and tell my URLs that, look, I've created a logic in my views, so please display it. Just redirect people there. Anytime you go to the landing page, display this particular function, what I've told it to do. And now in order for you to do that, you have to import these views into the URL. So I can say from my home application, import views. Now I will say create a path, and I would leave it an empty path because this is my landing page. And now say views dot home. Then usually you give it a name, but we'll come there shortly. And I'm going to save it. Now once I save it, you see my server is reloading, and by the time I go back to my front end of my web browser, I refresh, you can see it's showing me this is my landing page, what I just wrote here. And so with that, we've created our first Django application. In the next video, we'll continue to create parts and logic, and hopefully after that create our models, as well as use HTML files, because this is not this in itself, this logic is not really sustainable here. So we need to create more complex HTML files and create some other logic. Thank you very much. I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I'll see you in the next video.